Welcome to the Conservation Commission Inland Wetlands Watercourse Agency meeting for Tuesday, May 26th. We have a call to order. Today we have a couple of vacancy, and Kaylin and Kyle, if you would like to sit for Jason and Joe.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, I'd go ahead and amend that agenda.
Oh yes, thank you. I even have this written down. So I need a vote to amend the agenda to include item 3 in the general commission business for the Dorset Crossing referral from the Zoning Commission. Do we have a motion to do so?
I'll motion that we have that action.
All right, do we have
I'll second.
No, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, now on to approval of minutes. For April 25th, I know we had deferred them for a while, April 25th and May 2nd. Does anyone have any additions or changes to the minutes?
They were complicated, and we worked hard on them.
And thank you very
good job, I
much.
think.
That was above and beyond. So, do we have a motion to accept those 2 sets of minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept minutes from both of those meetings.
All right, do you have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, good. On to item 3, new applications for receipt and determination of significance. Application CC 23-19 of Frank and Kathleen Jocelyn, owners for a wetland permit to construct a 572 square foot addition to the upland review area at 20 Saddle Ridge Drive, Assessor's Map C07, Block 212, Lot 031, Simsbury.
Madam Chair, this is an application for receipt. Sorry to make you look behind you. That's kind of the way the room's set up, but we just have I think a helpful map that Brittany put together. She has a little bit of laryngitis tonight, so first meeting laryngitis. So I'll do my best to help out a little bit. So yeah, so a 572 square foot addition. It is in the upland review area. Looks like it's about 40 plus or minus 40 feet to the watercourse, the wetland area. Applicant submitted plans. I think Brittany continues to work with them on it. I think it kind of is a standard addition in the upland review area. It's consistent with your previous findings where you found an application like this non-significant, and we'd recommend you schedule it for action at your next meeting on June 6th. And I think the applicant is here, if you want to hear from the applicant. Or not.
We could? Yes, let's. If you'd like to stand and identify yourself, or come up to the...
Captain Frank Jocelyn.
Good evening.
Do we need to come up to the mic? No, okay. All right. So, when would you plan to do this project?
We don't have a timeline just yet. We're still in the process of interviewing contractors, and so it's yet to be determined.
We've had the survey taken care of, and an architect's plans have been completed.
So that was that a lawn that's there now, or just
No,
vegetation?
it's an unfinished open area. It's not part of the it's not formal
It's
landscaping.
Pachysandra. It's
Pachysandra.
all
Pachysandra.
and bushes.
And then it drops down to an old stone wall, and beyond that, the wetlands.
Is it like just a pile of stone, like your typical?
No, it's
The stone wall?
Yeah.
Yes, it's very old. It's rough. Oxen, I'm sure, back in the day.
been there a long time.
Hundreds and hundreds of pounds, covered with moss.
So it's your typical stone. It's your typical New England stone.
Yes.
Yes.
It was-
1460.
We heard it was built to
That's
keep
right.
the oxen out of, or the cows out of the swamp. So.
Okay.
Okay.
And that wouldn't be impacted by the project at all. In fact, it would be a highlight of it.
And where this birdhouse is, that's the area where we're proposing to put the addition.
Are you thinking of removing the Pachysandra?
Oh, I
We're
know.
transplanting it.
Oh, or you could just remove it. It's a little bit invasive.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, especially since you've got the equipment in, it might be a good time to
Right.
take it out and dispose of it. Yeah. All right. Do we have any other questions?
Right now, or the plans, it's 40 feet from the edge of the proposal to the water's edge.
Yes, the southeast corner.
Yeah.
the upper right on the map would be roughly that.
Do you know how far it is to the existing house right now?
I'm sorry?
Do you know how far it is, it's like plus or minus 40 feet to the water's edge?
60-ish.
60, yeah. I was
At
just,
least that.
Yeah,
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 60
yeah.
or
Well,
so.
maybe
Okay.
plus that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can have that information for you at the action item
That's right.
at your next meeting. We can do that measurement.
How big is the drop off? It looks like it goes downhill
It's
quite a bit.
substantial. We have a contour map on the way. The surveyors did complete the survey, as we
All the
said,
elevations are
but
there.
we went back and asked them to also provide for you a contour map of the area, and it will show a substantial drop. We've been there 38 years, and there's never been an issue of any kind of dampness in the whole lot area.
Gotcha.
We're also working with our engineering staff. Once the contour lines come in, they're going to take a look at it and look at drainage and where the outflow is going to be from the foundation drain that's going in.
Yeah, so we expect to have some updated items on the plan set before your June 6th meeting.
Awesome.
Tonight, we're looking for a motion for significance.
Yes.
All right. Would anyone care to make a motion for significance on this application?
That's my birdhouse.
That slide might be helpful.
Yes.
That slide is probably helpful for your motion. You probably need a motion to.
I was
Keep
asking
moving.
for one, yes. Do we have?
Yeah, I'm just finishing reading the the application here.
While Andrew's finishing, we'd love to see some native plants. Since it's right next to the wetland, we would love to see, when you do go to landscape, that it would be good to put in some native shrubs that, should they escape into the wetlands, it would be a good thing.
Absolutely.
No, we're very aware of that. We belong to the land trust, and we consider ourselves stewards of the area, and we've done our best to keep it as pristine as possible.
All right, Andrew, would you like to make a motion?
I move that we find application CC 2319 to be not significant and schedule it for action at our next regular meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item is application CC 23-20 for Catherine DeVita and Larry Severance, owners, for Frank Van Linter, applicant, for a wetland permit to construct a 615-square-foot addition, and a portion of which will replace existing deck and patio in the upland review area at 24 Banks Road, Assessors Map E12, Block 127, Lot 025, Simsbury.
That's Madam Chair, CC number 23-20. Similar project to the last one. It's an addition, approximately 615 square feet, about 35 feet from the wetland soils. Previously, a portion of the proposed area where the addition's going as a deck and a patio area, that will be removed, and the addition will be slightly larger than what was there, the deck and patio that was there. A little flatter terrain than the previous application.
These pictures are what? Where it's going to be, or?
Yeah, it's
sort
in
of-
the backyard looking out towards the rear of the yard.
That's not where the addition will be. I apologize if I can speak to that. I'm Larry Severance, one of the owners, my fiance Karen DeVita. That area where the trampoline is sort of like pushed back towards where I believe where the wetlands are behind that on our property, but that's not where the proposed addition is gonna be. It's closer more to the house.
Could you go back to
The
the
map back up.
Yeah, that map. So right now, the proposed addition is 35 feet.
Right behind the house.
Yeah.
Where it says wetland soils is where that trampoline was.
Okay. And do you know how far it is to the existing house right now?
The wetlands?
Yeah.
In our notes here, it says it's more than 50 feet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not sure that's correct, but
It's still, well, it was built so long ago, it's still in the upland review area, technically.
yeah, it says areas greater than 50 feet away from the nearest point.
The closest point of the addition would be where the existing deck is now.
Yeah.
Again, with landscaping, we would encourage the use of native plants because it is next to, and the removal of any invasive plants that you might have at that site. The wetland soils, are they like part of the lawn at this point? Or no,
Well,
where it's
I
marked?
don't think I noticed it until that corner.
If I was a good gardener, maybe, but it's more like the very edge of the yard, so it's kind of brush and.
All right, so keep an eye out for the invasives, that's where they tend to lurk. Do we have any additional questions? I would entertain a motion for significance.
I move to find the application CC 2320 is a non-significant activity and schedule it for action at our next regularly scheduled meeting.
I'll second.
A second, all right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good. None opposed.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're moving on to item 4, public hearing and/or action on applications. Application CC 23-17 of Whitman Pond Homeowners Association, owner for a wetland permit to hydro-rake the ponds to remove natural debris at the end of Whitman Pond Road, Assessors Map E07, Block 303, Lot 000, Simsbury. And I know we had.
You heard a lot from the applicant at receipt, so again, this is for action this evening. I would just defer to the applicant if they want to add any additional details. It's, again, permit for hydro rake.
Bill and Sean Lawler, we both live on the pond.
Do you have anything to add to the, I know you gave us a lot of testimony last time. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Not particularly, unless there's questions by the committee.
Do we have any questions from the commissioners? Entertain a motion.
You've got a draft motion, I think, in front of you for this application that includes kind of your standard conditions.
So who would like to?
I think this is one, we don't always stress kind of notice and notification of staff. Staff would love to know when you start doing this so we can come out and see it. Since I don't think we have any staff who have seen this kind of activity. Sure. So we'd love a little notice and let us know when your contractors are out there.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, I would move the Conservation Commission approve application CC 23-17 of Whitman Pond Homeowners Association, owner for a wetlands permit to hydro-rake the ponds to remove natural debris at the end of Whitman Pond Road Street. Assessors Map E07, Block 303, Lot 000, Simsbury, with the following findings. The project will not adversely impact the watercourse with the typical conditions.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the commission, the draft motion is on the screen up there so the public can see it. So yeah, your standard conditions.
Okay.
All right.
Second.
Second, do we have any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Good luck. Old business. Do we have any old business?
No.
Not nice. All right. And general commission business, appointment of Assistant Town Planner Brittany McGilpin as the town wetlands agent.
Yeah, it's a primary role in the job description for the assistant town planner to play that role. Brittany certainly has exceptional experience at West Hartford on the enforcement side, and she seems to know certainly plenty about wetlands as well.
Excellent.
So we would recommend a motion to appoint her to that role.
Delighted to have you. Who would like to make the appointment? I mean, the motion to appoint Brittany as the town's wetlands agent?
Sure, I'll move to appoint Brittany as the town wetlands agent.
All right. Any second? Yes. All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And thank you.
Thank you.
We are very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Be here, of course.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item 2, consideration of recommended revisions to section 8.5 to 6.1, large and complex projects. And I want to thank George for drafting the letter that was included in our package.
I think we worked together on it.
That's great.
So we tried to. So the draft letter was a little bit longer and a little bit, I don't know, a little bit pointed. I think the tone was a little different than what you might want to transmit to the Board of Selectmen. So I think we try to just be clear about the reasons. There are complex projects that don't always meet the current threshold. As we say in the letter, that the current threshold is, in order for you to engage technical assistance with third-party soil scientists or engineers or stormwater experts, the project has to be 100,000 square feet or 200 parking spaces. It's a pretty high threshold. And so because it is in the town code of ordinances, it would have to be amended by the Board of Selectmen. And so I think this is the starting piece to transmit your concern and recommendation to them. I would recommend, I wouldn't recommend any changes to the letter except to maybe CC the chairman of the zoning commission, the chairman of the zoning board of appeals, and the chairman of the planning commission to let them know, because I'd suspect they will be supportive of this.
All right.
And the other, so there's also a strike. We included a strike through. You have to think a little bit more about what that language might look like, but I think it's a good starting point. It essentially carves out the Conservation Commission to be outside of those kind of cumulative requirements. The commission gets to determine what's a complex application.
And this is something that we had submitted to the Board of Selectmen several years back.
Yes, in 16, I think.
16, yeah, so it's something we've been considering for quite some time. I think this is a good letter and a good thing for the commission to do. And do we have any?
And I did. Everybody got it right. I did send it to everybody.
Any further discussion from the commissioners?
What is like 100,000 square feet? Is that like a big Y type of thing? I don't know how big Y is. I know it's big.
Yeah, Big Y is probably closer to 60,000 square feet.
Okay, so it'd be even significantly bigger the way it's written now.
The modern Walmart is always around 120,000 square feet, so it's somewhere in between. It's a big footprint.
It would be huge.
Yeah, 100,000
right, the way it's
square
written
foot
now.
Yes.
Are we going to suggest a new threshold, or is it just going to kind of keep it open?
So the draft letter would suggest no threshold, which is that each commission should determine if a project is complex enough to require technical assistance. And I think we would argue, I think the chairwoman would agree that, I think those are random parameters. I think they don't have any relationship to a wetland or a water course. All those characteristics are different on every application. So that's what I would say.
And it would be nice to have that expertise, or at least be able to call upon the experts.
And again, if you remember, I think maybe I did or maybe I didn't send that whole section of the town code. It is complicated. It's still a complicated process. The commission gets to determine what's a complex application and where you need assistance.
Yes.
And ultimately that has to be approved, that spending essentially has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen, even though we say spending, even though it's paid for by the applicant. So that process is ultimately approved by the Board of Selectmen. That may also be a conversation to have with the Board of Selectmen as to what is their role in approving. So that probably would require additional conversation.
Especially since there's always a timing issue as to when,
Yes.
and, you know, we run up
Yeah,
against.
we do have timelines and deadlines associated with our, that are state enabled by statute, so.
Yeah, that's my only concern
Yeah.
is strategically that we're creating more work potentially for the Board of Selectmen and potentially creating time-sensitive things for them to respond to, which they may or may not appreciate.
Or have the ability to, based
Yeah.
on their schedule. So I that's what I said. I think, I don't know that it needs to be in the letter, but I think if we get the opportunity to have the conversation with them, that needs to be part of the conversation. Why do they need to approve your choice of the need for technical assistance? I'm sure we've never had that conversation with the Board of Selectmen before, and I'm sure they would be open to it. I don't know how they would feel about it, but it's a conversation we would have to have.
Yeah, and as I said, this is the second time we've submitted requests so that we could hire expert witnesses, so that within that, removing the 100,000 square feet. So this is a move in the right direction.
Definitely.
So do we have a motion to approve the signing and sending of this letter with the addition of sending it to the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission, and was there another one?
I would send it to the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission, and the Zoning Board of Appeals.
That's it.
More likely that the concert, your inland wetlands function and the zoning commission would probably be more apt to engage.
Yep.
So go through those channels and then go to the Board of Selectmen?
No.
No, I'm simply saying just copy the letter to them so they're aware that you're sending it. That's all.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they would be very, I would imagine they'd be very interested in
I
it.
think so.
If our goal is to have a conversation with them ultimately about whether or not they need that role in approving our requests for technical assistance, should we make that explicit in our letter?
I might counsel silence on that until we get to have that conversation.
Okay.
I don't think that's the important piece right now.
Okay, that's fine.
So do we have a motion to forward this letter?
I'll make a motion that we should forward the letter to the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission, and
Board of Appeals.
the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, good. Thank you very much, George.
Thank you.
And we'll start the conversation. And item 3 that we added tonight, Zoning Commission's 23-1830 Dorset Crossing referral from the Zoning Commission to modify the Dorset Crossing PAD master plan. And we have a presentation tonight.
So, Tony Giorgio is here. Just take one step back and maybe just let me give you a half paragraph on why. So this, so Dorset Crossing has kind of a specific zoning where it is. It's zoned planned area development. So that is a special zone that carries with it kind of extended scrutiny and review across our disciplines. It's the only zoning district that that requires and recommends a referral to Planning Commission, Conservation Commission, and Design Review Board for both preliminary review and final review. It is it's a zoning district that essentially is linked to its own master plan. So the master plan is the zoning district. And so the applicant is going to come in and talk about a proposed amendment to Dorset Crossing. It's really an exchange of commercial area in the front land bays to additional residential. And it's a preliminary review first, so tonight you'll be asked to just think about it, and if you have any broad kind of categorical suggestions for the applicant as he moves forward. And we'll take all that and we'll take it back to the zoning commission, and then the zoning commission will set a kind of a public hearing date for the change to the master plan, and any of those changes will be brought back to you as well for kind of a second look as applicable. So, Mr. Giorgio is the developer and the owner?
Absolutely.
Thank you for amending your agenda. My team and I had some miscommunication, and all of a sudden I realized at 3 o'clock no one was going to be here, and I didn't want to lose this opportunity. Just as an aside, I honestly believe that conservation commissions and wetlands commissions should have the ability to request and hire technical assistance in discussing wetlands applications. I've had a little bit of experience over the last 40 years, and I think it's very important when a commission has to make a decision on an application and you get the developer's consultants and they present documentation. Sometimes it's clear as crystal, sometimes it's complicated. And I, as a developer, would love to have you hire your own people, even though I would pay for it, to confirm what we're going to do or not going to do. That has nothing to do with why I'm here tonight. I just thought you might like to hear it from this side of the table, right? Thank you, George. What you see behind you is what technically was approved as the original master concept plan back in 2010, 2011. And at that time...
Hey, Tony.
Stay seated. Oh, you want to have me try to do something
Well, I just think as
technical.
opposed to standing up there would be
All right.
maybe better. In the middle. In the middle is the
All right.
pointer. There you go.
Originally, we had this area, this is called Lot A, and it was all for medical and commercial office. This was Lot F, and that was retail, and it was presented conceptually as a 14,500 square foot building, and it was supposed to have been a Walgreens. We had this center area, which was designated as multifamily, in addition to these two back parcels that were also designated multifamily. And then we had this parcel, which was also seen as multifamily. The theory was that this first PAD in Simsbury would be a master plan community with retail, commercial, and residential. A lot of things have happened in the world since 2010 and 11. Fortunately, these 166 apartments have been built and enjoy a 97% occupancy. This special needs 48 unit building has been built and enjoys 100% occupancy. It is designed and was designed for people with MS or similar disabilities, and there are 47 tenants and 1 caregiver. These two back parcels were recently approved for an additional 72 units, and we're in the process of trying to close that. One of the challenges in this world is financing, and the developer is having some challenges in financing, but hopefully that will happen. The reason for our discussion this evening and with all the land use commissions is that when we appeared informally in front of the zoning commission several months ago, we indicated to them that the reality of the marketplace was that vacancy factors for office space in the valley were in the high 20s, 30% range. Vacancy factors for multifamily in the valley were at about 3%. And we've been out there for 12 years. Our building was 90% occupied when St. Francis was there. And at the end of their 9-year lease, because of a change in management and leadership, they decided to leave. And we now have my own office and a wellness facility at this end, and we're about 20% occupied. There's very little interest in medical. I'm happy to see UConn in the middle of town. I think that's a wonderful addition. I'd love to see Hartford Hospital or Trinity Health or the Children's Hospital come out and visit with us and fill it up, but so far there's been no interest. So when we appeared before the Zoning Commission and we said we'd like to consider replacing this commercial office space with multifamily residential, because quite candidly, the market for this is not there. The market for multifamily exists, and frankly, it's advantageous for it to be developed, not only for us as the owners, but for the community in terms of its ratables. We were advised to follow a process, which we've done, back in, what was it, January, George, when we re-subdivided and created this line. So now we have an area called Lot H. Lot A is in here and Lot F is here. What we're proposing to do is basically take this area and propose 3 buildings of 24 units each to create 72 more units of residential housing with some open space, with ample surface parking. And we're also requesting that we were able to designate this building not just medical, but medical and retail. We've had some interest in renting space in the building from non-medical uses. Right now, we're in negotiations with a local family that want to put a golf simulation facility here. We're waiting to hear back from them as they do their due diligence. But that particular use is essentially entertainment and retail, and technically that's a medical office building. So in order for us to have that flexibility, we're asking all the land use commissions to consider us being able to add a retail use to this building and to be able to replace the commercial and medical office with 72 units. Now, we did an informal presentation I guess it was informal. We did a presentation to the Zoning Commission last night. Once again, reviewing what we had said to them several months ago. And I think there's an understanding of the reality of the marketplace. There are some concerns about affordability. There are concerns about workforce housing. There is some interest in age-restricted housing. And all I can say as the owner of the property is what I've been telling people that have approached me wanting to see if they could do residential development, is that I think the community could use all of the above. I think age-restricted, workforce housing, affordability are all pieces of the puzzle that we need to see filled in. I've had no one walk away from those suggestions. I think people understand that this is a changing world. In fact, I believe there's an article in the Current today. The governor is proposing that we need to add 89, we're short 89,000 housing units across the state, and affordability is still an issue. Were we to be successful in getting the 72 units approved, then my commitment to the land use commissions would be that we would encourage every developer that's interested in doing work out there to meet with town staff, to talk about it. It's an economic issue for the developer. It's a social issue for the community. I think that there are ways to make it work. I think based upon what George said a few minutes ago, we're kind of a zone of ourselves, that between the developer and the land use commissions, some formula can be developed so that a portion of those 72 future units could fall into the affordability category or into the workforce housing category or age restricted. There are no impacts on wetlands. All of our wetlands permits are in place. This area is dry as a bone, as some of you may know. A good portion of this, I sometimes chuckle because years ago when we acquired this abandoned Garrity gravel pit, there was a big hole in the ground right here. And over the years, before we could do anything, we had to mediate it and everything else. And I can remember standing roughly here, looking into this pit, probably 12 years ago, with some really important real estate people, developers. And I said to them as we looked east, I said, can't you just see this wonderful community of housing and commercial and retail? And they looked at me and they said, all we can see is a hole in the ground. So we were a bit of a pioneer in those days, and we've done pretty well, but the market has shifted, and right now we think that were we to be able to get another 72 units here, that we can develop it and add a component to the community at this end, because we are still kind of the gateway at the north part. Now that the town is working with the state to extend the sidewalks along Hot Meadow, the sidewalks will not only continue all the way here, but they are intended to come up and connect to the sidewalks we've already built. So these 72 units and the 166 up here and the 48 and the 72 will all be able to either use a bike path or walk down to the north end retail and commercial areas and benefit those business people. So that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I'll answer any questions you may have. I appreciate you taking the time to look at this, and please share with me your thoughts.
Where the proposed buildings are now, is there anything there, or is it just?
No, it's open space. It's all grass.
Oh, just grass.
And keep in mind, Commissioner Eaton, these are concepts, so that should this be successful and we get the approval to have 72 units in a configuration like this, that means that someone can come along with a site plan, a real site plan, and go through the land use process and show how they're going to build the 72 units. They may decide to do 2 buildings with more units in each building, or I don't think they'll decide to do 1 building, because that's just not appropriate. It wouldn't work with the overall schematic. We as the owners reserve the right to approve anything they want to build. And we've invested a lot of time and money in the park. Orsa Crossing has a feel, and I certainly don't want to put anything up there that's going to detract from that feel. But that's where the residential units would be, and right now it's just plain grass. I have little signs up asking people to curb their dogs, because even though the Point has a dog area for their residents, somehow they like to walk down and fertilize my grass. But in my few encounters, people have agreed to start carrying plastic bags, so at least my landscaper doesn't get angry when he has to go through there with his grass cutters.
No, I know that the front building is there.
Yeah,
I didn't know how far back. I drive by it all the time. I don't.
The only building that exists is this one. Okay, everything else is grass right now. We're preserving this as pure retail. What we're showing here, interestingly enough, if you probably don't, but on the original concept plan, this was one 14,500 square foot building, because it was going to be a Walgreens. But then Walgreens decided to buy Duane Reade in New York, and they used all of their capital to buy New York-based drugstores. And they stopped expanding in terms of their suburban stuff, as did, to some extent, CVS. So what we're proposing as a concept plan, just to excite the market, is this could work very nicely for 2 smaller buildings, which would end up being slightly less than 14,000. But I'm convinced that if and when we have 72 more units here and 72 more units back with Crown Properties and the existing, that this is going to become a very hot retail area, just for service retail, just to take care of the over 300 people living within walking distance of it. And it will complement what's down the road with where Antonio's is and all the rest of those.
I know it's a very well-drained site, and, you know, when you're doing you'll be doing the stormwater drain, and it'll be a lot of infiltration, and so that's something that, you know, we're interested in, even if it's not the wetlands on the site.
No.
So, and I know you'll.
And you'll get an opportunity to review all of that when the time comes. And the irony is that all of the drainage and all of the necessary stuff that we expected to do to accommodate all of the commercial is already in place. Now, some of it is salvageable, but depending on what the ultimate site plan looks like, there's going to have to be some modification, and all of that engineering is going to have to come back to you with the drainage and everything.
And we like some of the, you know, the swales and the rain gardens and all those, and native plants. I know that previously we encouraged the use of native plants, and I think, you know, there's so much
We've
more
tried.
even now from
We've
2010.
tried, yeah.
So, you know, you have an opportunity to do even more so this time.
Well, one of the things I'm negotiating right now is there's a beautiful estate tree right in this corner. And the sidewalk contractor and I have had conversations about the fact that when I drove by there the other day, there was a big orange ribbon around it. And the stakes were going right through the tree. So George introduced me to the assistant town engineer, right? And we had a conversation, and I've now had a conversation with the contractor. There's been agreement that they're going to relocate the sidewalk to preserve the tree. The question is, how are they going to do it? Are they going to elevate it? Because the town wants them to go a foot down for the base. Well, if you go a foot down on a 200-year-old tree, you're not only going to hit roots, but you're going to hit the root ball. And the minute you start doing that, you're going to destroy the tree. So I've asked my engineers to give the contractor all of the survey information for this corner, and the contractor will look at it. And if he needs us to go out, we'll stake it so there's no confusion, because I want to preserve that tree. It was part of the original agreement, and there's also a tree back here, which is a big old pine that my late wife made me promise I would preserve. So now every 5 years I bring an arborist out and they cut it, they trim it back so that it stays, but now it's massive. My only concern has always been is if it falls, it's going to land on the building, but we keep it as trimmed as we can. But we try to be sensitive to that. I mean, I've been in this business a long time, and it's not hard to do it right. It's easy to do it wrong. So that's all I can say to you.
So I know in the last, how many years since the original plan came in, that there's been a lot of, you know, new information about landscape plans
Right.
with using natives. So that's something we would like to see.
And you also look at this because we've come in and we've modified the cul-de-sac design and the crossing. So all of that new information has been incorporated in that the developers of those last two pieces have to do that based upon those new plans. So as the rules change, we change. Okay?
Is there anything else the commissioners would like to see? Plans? All right. Well, thank you very much. And
Well, thank you for your time.
Coming in
Thank you.
to talk to us
Appreciate it.
about that.
George, thank you to allow us to come in. I'm glad I saw your email, or I would have been very upset with my team.
All right.
Have a great evening.
Thank you very much. All right, agent actions.
So you do have an agent action on here, but I'm not going to report on it. We thought we were in a position to approve this, but this particular property owner is changing the location of the items of very close to the, it's in the upland review area, so thought we were going to approve it, we didn't, so we'll be back
We'll table
after
that.
we work with that property owner. So nothing to report on that.
Okay, any conservation business? No? All right. So we're moving on to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion.
All right, so second,
Second.
all in favor? Excellent. All right, thank you very much, everyone.